Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Championship. I can't even speak. It's been that long. Welcome back to the Championship panel. We are top of the league. I'm going to enjoy this. Carl, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, thank you very much as well. I'm trying to join as well. We climb up the table as well at Leeds as well. So yeah, we're joining the party.
And talking of party, Nathan, you haven't had a half bad week, have you?
I actually can't believe what I'm witnessing with this club, considering some of the absolute dross we've seen for the last 5 years. But 3 wins in a row, beating them lot down the road for the first time that I've actually seen in 10 years. Am I actually watching Cardiff City here? It's just incredible. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure, as always. Let's start with Cardiff, because, as I say, you've had an incredible week this week. I think today you beat Sunderland, you beat Cov last week, which was absolute brilliant viewing. And I'm enjoying the demise of Cov more and more, if I'm honest. Like week by week, I'm enjoying it more and more. But for you guys, like it's absolutely unbelievable. And we were just talking about it just before we came on air. You were saying about being relegation sort of battling this year. You're looking sort of, and I know it's early days, but you're looking like mid-table-ish at the moment.
Yeah, I think it mainly comes with the way that Errol Bullitt has really linked these players who you could say, especially not only reputation-wise, but the way that they have been at the club for the last few years, especially getting rid of the absolute rubbish. Like, I mean, you'll know it fully well about how terrible Jack Simpson was when we played you guys, giving you guys all 3 points, and then Errol Bullitt just goes, oh, if Kate has one more bad game against Sheffield Wednesday, bang, just sacks him. Okay, I will happily take that. If you're going to show what a manager or even the club hasn't been able to do for years and really get on top of these underperforming, money-grabbing players, then I'm all for it, to be honest. You can either sack them or drop them. Allsop was very quickly out of the door, getting his wage bill back, which was fantastic. And just the real link-up and the togetherness of the squad now is just phenomenal. And even without Aaron Ramsey, because he hasn't actually played for the last 2 games, it's just superb. I'm not a fan of the Winsell-Joe Rolls partnership in midfield, but bringing in Manolas Siopis, he's basically like the Kante of the Championship. Just absolutely ridiculous player. Runs everywhere. I mean, if you run to the shops, he'll be there, quite frankly. It's just mental player. But the way that we are battling through these games, last season we had the issue of not scoring many goals either, and that was shocking in the final third. But we're really battling in there now, and we don't have to have all the possession, all of the chances. As Errol Bullitt keeps saying in his press conferences, the only way you'll make the most of your chances is by taking them. And that is all we've done this season. If we can shore up at the back, and it has been progressing there, I mean, the Mark McGuinness and Demetrius Goutas partnership, it's getting even better and better. And I thought Jamalu Collins, he was sensational today at left back. But if we can really tighten that up and start linking this forward and getting this momentum together like we have done in the last 3 games, because we have got a pretty tasty run of matches coming up. Like, we've had a really tough start to the season, and you can't shy away from that. The draw against Leeds, narrowly missing out on, you could say, a point against you guys, Leicester as well. Won't talk about that QPR game, demolishing Swansea, unlucky to get to bottom the league against Ipswich as well. We've had some really difficult run of fixtures, but the ones coming up, I reckon we could cause some damage. We've got Rotherham next Saturday, Middlesbrough coming up, who are looking terrible at the moment. Watford, who aren't looking great. Blackburn, we got to play twice, obviously, once in the Cup and once in the league, and then Huddersfield as well, before another derby in Bristol City. So we could really cause some serious damage here and even push into those playoff positions, which, if you told me that at the start of the season, I would have been absolutely astonished with the situation that the club was in.
Yeah, like obviously, if you go back a few weeks to the streams that we were doing before we played Leicester, you were saying if we stay up and sort of comfortably stay up, then it's a good season. So the fact that we're so early on into the season and you're even sort of like quietly muttering the words playoff,
that would be absurd if we do.
But the fact that's even crossing in your mind at this stage is absolutely ridiculous. But I know you've touched on it briefly, but let's talk about the derby, because like talking to you leading up to that, despite the fact that you were in sort of much better form and you, like, on paper you were the favourites, you still didn't sound massively confident when you were going into it.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, the fact that they put it at 7:45 was the most petrifying part, considering you just had to wait all day everyone was doing this in the city centre just to drown their sorrows and take their mind off having to wait that long during the day. But the main reason that none of us were confident is the mentality of the club and just the refusal of the players to turn up for these big games. And the fact that, if you ask me, like I say this on World of Football, which I go take part on in Monday, I say to the boys all the time, look at the last 4 or 5 years. When was the last time that we have won a big game where there is pressure on these players? Absolutely never, especially in front of our home fans as well. And with these derbies against Swansea as well, sadly, and it pains me to say it, but look at it, Cardiff fans, you've got to put it this way. They have basically walked all over us over the last 10 to 15 years in these matches just because of the mentality that we have employed. Like, they did the first ever double 2 years in a row, which is absolutely unacceptable for especially for the derby. We've never done it. It took them 110 years to do it. Of course, everyone knows that fact as well. And boy, did they demolish us when they do it. But the fact that it took 10 years just for us to even get a victory against them in front of our home fans is shocking. And that's another reason you got to install into it why we weren't confident. Going into it, Errol Bullock really drummed it into the players how important it is, because we've seen lackluster performances before where the players were like, oh, it's just another game. And same with the managers as well. But Ollie Tanner, spectacular goal. Ramsey getting his penalty as well. I literally couldn't believe what I was watching, but boy, were the fans up for it this time. There was, as the game started to grow in 20, 30 minutes, we started to get loud. We started to get confident in the stands because we were like, okay, hang on, we could do some damage here because of the way we're playing. And boy, did that happen.
Yeah, and as I say, like, you've had a brilliant week, haven't you? And
absolutely,
it's onwards and upwards from here. Let's quickly get into the live chat and then we'll talk about Leeds. But Caleb, how are you doing? Welcome into the chat. I hope you are well. Yeti boy as well. It's getting boring, this winning luck. No, it is not. We can keep doing this every week and I will not get bored of it. But guys, do leave a like on the stream. Check out both Carl and Nathan's channel. But let's talk about Leeds. 3-0 win against Watford. And like, I was skeptical as a neutral looking at Leeds to start with Daniel Farke, because it just, and not because I don't think Daniel Farke's a good manager, but it just seemed like there's so much of a mess there. It feels like he's steadied the ship and you're starting to click a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We started to click now. I think we knew the transfer bag we had before the 49ers took the ownership was very tough, and we'll let so many players go on loan who had loan clauses, and we didn't know who was going to be staying beyond the 1st of September. It was quite tough. But what Danny Farke has done, he's done tremendously to say shit. He knew what he was coming into, and he was prepared with, I think, this bit more better communication between himself and the owners now than it was in previous regimes. And I think that's the difference. And it's always going to take time to get the results that we needed to get as a team. We needed a goal scorer like Joe Perro, and he's been tremendous. And that's something we needed because we were struggling for goals last season in the Premier League. And even Nathan could back that up because we were dreadful with so many chances. But I think that's been different. Getting Jadon Anthony from Bournemouth, good replacement for Sincere, who's not done much since he joined Bournemouth. I think we're getting him, Anthony, in has been tremendous. I think getting Glenn, I think the squad is now building up. Some good youngsters are coming through. It's been really, really good. And I think it was always going to be the sole start against Cardiff. And as Nathan was pretty much like nearly spot on there. We could have lost that game. We could have dropped ahead, but we didn't. And it just took us time to get the players that we needed to get in because we knew we had to replace much of that squad. But the way we've been playing is been for us we're just on the ball, we press with the more pressing, and seeing such as, Sam Barrow coming back in with the left back issue. He's coming back to the club. Ethan, getting Glenn Cameron from Rangers has been tremendous. We need another central defence midfield. But Rutter and Barrow and Somerville and Nancy can rotate around. Even Dan James is coming back to his best when he was at Swansea. We're slowly seeing.
Yeah, that assist was phenomenal today as well. Like, he's really starting to get his end product back.
Yeah, he's getting his end product back. I think the way I think post with Manchester United, I think he lost his confidence. And I think he could have had another season. He could have had a loan season loan in the Championship last season, but he went to Fulham, to try and get game time. But I think him in this level, it's just to get back to his level so he can start again. It's been tremendous. And, and Pamphadu is really, it's been that central midfielder that we needed, and he can play everywhere. And then that's what the quality we got now. We are getting some of the players back from injuries. Well, we're seeing slowly shut down, hopefully coming back towards the next few weeks. And, I can't give more positive at the moment what Danny Farke. He's coming in a tough situation at a big club where the fans have huge expectations, and he's dealt with it, and he's saying the right things every time when he speaks. And I think we've got good fixtures coming up the next few weeks. We've got to go with Southampton, will be dreadful the last 3-4 games. We're going to keep home to QPR and then Bristol City before the international break. So if we pick up more results, I think we'll see, the league see that we've been seeing probably in the Bielsa years, but a bit more better defense now, and it's a bit more established 11 now, because that's what we were not getting much last season and the season before. And I think hopefully we'll let the good times roll. But I think Daniel Farke is coming with a clear mindset that he can get this club out can get Leeds back in the Premier League with the squad, and we just need 1-2 more additions.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the thing with, I said this at the time, and I think with Daniel Farke, he wouldn't have gone to Leeds if he didn't believe that the foundations were there to get promoted. Because as good as a manager as he is at Championship level, if you're going to go into a club that's an absolute circus, then you can be Pep Guardiola, you're not going to succeed. So he's clearly got faith in the fact of yes, there was he walked into a mess, but he's cleaned up as much of that as he could early on. He clearly sees someone in your squad that can go up. And I think there's similarities and differences between Leeds and Leicester. You guys have still got a lot of Premier League quality in your squad, likewise as us. But I think you've also brought very well. Ampadu, I think, is a brilliant player. I really, really do like Ethan Ampadu. Joel Pirro is going to cause problems this year for you guys. What I think is going to be interesting is, as we get a little bit later on into the season, I think you've got a brilliant starting 11. It's have you got the depth to keep going week after week after week?
I think we do now compared to last season. We did have a lot of depth, and that was the issue we had. I think we've got a lot of depth, especially with Archie Gray, one of the youngsters. I think even Ian Poveda coming back as well. I think he's got a point to prove as well too, if he's good enough. I think we've got more depth than we have done before, and that's what we needed to get quality players that can come off the bench as well. Keeping Gonto was vital as well to be that difference. I know Bamford, depends, he won't get his scoring boost, but he will provide his leadership, which he needs to do now, because I don't think he's going to get much games to get in that starting 11. We all know that. But I think we got the depth that we did before now, that we did the last 2 seasons, which were the Achilles heel of Leeds completely. So we have got the depth, and I think if we get a few more bodies, because we kept Junior Firpo, so even though he thought he was going to go, but I think he wants to stay to see what happens if he can get back into the squad. So we've got a bit of the depth there. Hopefully we will get 1 or 2 more. I think what we will need to do is look at getting another left back in January and the number 8 role. But that's I think we've been happy with the squad, and we've got the depth now. So, and that rotation will come in. I think we'll get Spence back before the end of the year, because I know he's out with a knee injury. Hopefully he'll come back in, because he's a good signing for us for Spurs. So we've got the depth there. We'll hopefully get 1 or 2 bodies to for the rest of the season from January.
Yeah, and I think for you guys, it's very similar to us. And the aim's got to be to go straight back up. Surely, first go, you've got I know sort of if you don't go back up first time, you're patient with it. But surely with the squad you've got, and bringing Daniel Farke in, it's got to be looking straight back up first go.
Absolutely, it is now for us. I think it was a question on, like I said, when it came to the job, it was between him and Vieira, and people preferred more Vieira than Farke. But I think after Vieira we did warm up to Daniel Farke, because we knew he had that pedigree, and he knew I think he was in the same situation when he was at Norwich. He had to steady that ship as well because he was, with the play, the squad was very average championship squad and took them to the Premier League. And I think because we've got the more Premier League quality in there, I think it's the first time asking. And the 49ers, they've got the money now, so we got more revenue, more income revenue now to try to get back up. And I think you look what I was reading stuff from Andrea Rezzani. He called out the former owner Leeds. He called out the club and all that stuff. And actually, I think it's been the best of share the 49ers have been more transparent on what they're trying to do. And that's what we've not had for a good few seasons. We had that we didn't get that much under Bielsa much as well, even though Bielsa was up front. But I think now with the new ownership and the new manager, it is clicking in sync. And we are looking at this scene. They are doing a lot more better things now to get the fans. And I think there's a lot more monthly forum meetings now between the club and the fans, which we needed for a while because there was no communication at all. And I think the 49ers are investors are very much on the board to make sure we've been listened to. And also keep communication what's going on because they have got the money. We've got the money, and especially with some of the other investors who are in the club. I think we'll be fine without the offset as well, because we did have to save a lot of players going on low, about 60-70 million. We will probably get a bigger if we do get promoted. I think we'll offset that revenue completely. And that one thing is we'll just get the stadium upgrade sorted out and actually try to improve the squad. What if Barker gets promoted from Premier League, we'll get in the right players that we need desperately to stay up.
Yeah, and like something you said there that's so important, and like it's that unity. And I felt last year at Leicester that there was no communication between the board and sort of fans, and the manager went very quiet, particularly when it turned very toxic towards Brendan Rodgers. But for any club, it's so important to have that positive relationship between fans and sort of the squad, the board, and all of that. And it's everyone heading in one direction, isn't it?
Sorry, I have to laugh just because of that with us,
I know, true.
That's our dream.
we had this issue. We had this issue very much. I think when Bielsa was there, it was the crack. The wall was plastered. Cracks were plastered temporarily with a plaster. That was it. As soon as Bielsa go, all hell broke loose between the Leeds fans and the pro Leeds and the pro Bielsa fans. It all hell broke loose, and it was a fractious a year, 18, 24 months. And I think under Rezzani, who was very not good decision-wise, him and Victor Ortega, there was so much drama going. And I think we needed to clear up the house and get rid of Ortega, get rid of Rezzani. I know Angus Kinnear is still there, but I think Angus Kinnear is happy. He's now feeling more happy under that new regime of getting transparency out as well, too. So that is the huge difference we see at the moment. Because the 49ers, they do so much with their NFL team and they do so much, and they do so much here as well to try to have the similarities both the NFL and also here in the UK as well.
No, that's fair enough. Guys, do subscribe to obviously both channels. Doug has very kindly put both links in the chat. But let's move up the table slightly. Let's talk about Leicester. And I said that very smugly, didn't I? And,
yeah, you did. Yeah.
I won't apologise.
I can see why you're loving it, though. Genuinely.
I think this championship business is great. I forgot how much I enjoyed championship football, but it wasn't pretty against Bristol, but it's another win on the table. And I said it in my match reaction outside the ground, but the fact we've won 7 games out of 8, and some games we're absolutely turning teams over, like Norwich, Southampton. That was really top draw performances. To go to St Mary's and Carrow Road, 2 teams that yes, both of them are going through struggles at the moment, but both of them will be there or thereabouts come the end of the season, I'll imagine. Maybe slightly less so Southampton, because I still think Russell Martin's Brendan Rodgers, but everything without the good side of Brendan Rodgers.
He's a fraud.
But
yeah.
But regardless, I could not be happier at the moment. And as I say, our game yesterday against Bristol was not the best game in the world. It took a penalty to win it, but we dominated the ball, we dominated the chances. Bristol offered absolutely nothing. It's just that final third. We just weren't quite, that final pass just wasn't quite clinical enough. But at the same time, it's like you're not gonna beat teams 3-4-0 every week. It just doesn't happen. And there are going to be games where you have to scrape through. And the fact that we've got that character and that ability to do that now, like compare that to last year, we probably conceded in the 90th minute when Bristol had their one period of the game where they looked quite dangerous. We concede and we draw that game. So it's like it's early days, but I couldn't be happier with what Enzo Maresca's doing. And you look at some of the players that sort of how they're adapting to the system and the philosophy and play style. Like Harry Winks is just an absolute level above. People sort of turn their nose up at him when we signed him. I think I would argue and say he's been our signing of the season. But then you look, Madidi, absolutely brilliant. Fatawu as well. Sort of started and people were a little bit surprised about it. But again, very lively, caused all sorts of problems. You've got Casey McAteer, who, like, everyone's talked about the signings that we've made. But then we've got Casey McAteer, who's our top goal scorer, who was on loan at Wimbledon last year. And when we were talking at the start of the season, I didn't mention Casey McAteer once as a breakthrough player. And the fact that he's a 21-year-old and he's looking as one of our more dangerous players says it all, really. And then also James Justin coming back in, Callum Doyle sadly picked up a knock, but he's looking absolutely brilliant. Like the resurgence of Vestergaard as well. It's like life's good as a Leicester fan at the moment. Like, I don't want to sound too smug, but it's like I've had 18 months of having to hear, oh, well, what would you expect? And, oh, get behind Brendan. Brendan's like an elite manager. You can't get better than Brendan. And it's like, it's nice to actually have a manager who's bigging up the club, saying that he wants the club to do well, says we should talk proudly at the club and we shouldn't be sort of limiting our expectations, compared to Brendan Rodgers saying, oh, well, we have overachieved a little bit and 40 points would be a great achievement. And it's like I know we're in the Championship now, but just a different feeling is absolutely massive. And it's like, it's what you said, Nathan. It's just like small changes can feel like a big difference.
It absolutely can. I mean, especially with you guys as well. I think it was sort of refreshing because at the end of the day, you've had looking as this outsider perspective as well, going from the 2014 promotion into the Premier League title lift. Obviously, a patchy stage until you get the start of that Brendan Rodgers era in getting the FA Cup. And then it sort of did hit home as well, I guess, for you guys when the negativity started to arouse, which was fueled by Brendan Rodgers. The reluctance, of course, from board level to sack him. And ultimately the relegation. You just, when something negative, when it all builds up, it can be really hard to sort of demolish. But sort of when you get like this phone and then you sort of turn it into a different perspective, that's what I'm seeing with Leicester at the moment. Bringing in these refreshing young players who actually want to play for the badge. Your Mavridis, who's been fantastic. Harry Winks, who he's a cheat code at this level. Dewsbury Hall, who stuck by, got sort of a new lease of life, even though some of us fans, in the Championship did think he was going to move on to the Premier League. But the way that the perspective has changed around the club and the positivity that is now starting to be built up is pretty much excellent for you guys. And you just got to keep this going now. And I mean, it does help as well from a manager in Maresca who has really been pushing it onto your fans, saying we can make something special if you back us. Whereas, as you've said, Brendan Rodgers would have been just like, yeah, we're doing well.
Yeah. And it's like, the thing is, it's like,
we deserve
to start with, like Brendan Rodgers had that sort of, we want to challenge the big six sort of thing, and we really want to have a go at them. But as soon as it started getting tough, it was like, well, we are Leicester, you need to manage expectations. And it's like, why are you telling the team that have just won the league 6 years ago, 5,000 to 1 against all odds, to manage expectations? Like, we have, out of all clubs, have got the right to dream because we've seen the impossible. And it's like,
exactly.
Don't tell us, whilst we've got the 7th highest wage bill in the Premier League, a manager on 10 million a year, only being outpaid by Mikel Arteta, Jurgen Klopp, and Pep Guardiola, that 40 points is a celebration or 40 points it would be a realistic target. It's like,
I mean, to be fair, it's just a defeatist attitude by him, because I don't know what he's thinking, but how can you be that arrogant to think that a club that you're managing is a small club and you fit them into that bracket where, for example, oh, they've had a few successful seasons, but now they're going to be like Stoke fighting relegation every season? Like, it's just a complete arrogance. And I don't know what of Brendan Rodgers, because at the end of the day, though, if he was back at Liverpool, would he be saying the exact same thing if he had the same squad, the same build, the same wage bill, but he was at Liverpool instead?
I don't
think he would.
I think he would, because I talk to Jack a lot. You know, Jack, Anfield Road TV, and he said at the end of his time at Liverpool, it was always, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. And it's like, he started last season with that mindset of, well, I wanted more players in the transfer market, and he was throwing players under the bus, left, right, and centre, and like no one really wanted, like players like Siunchu, like he's a solid Premier League centre back who could have been a lot more than that, and it's like he was absolutely like frozen out, and Dan Amati was starting ahead of him. Yet Siunchu's good enough to go to play for Atletico Madrid in one of the best defensive teams in Europe. Yet he's not good enough for a relegation battle in Leicester side, because he'd had a disagreement with him off the pitch. And it's like, this is why I'll always put Nigel Pearson ahead of him as a manager. Nigel Pearson and Danny Drinkwater didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but he was always in the team because it's what's best for the team. And it's like the team comes first, and then you put your personal differences aside. But then back to Brendan Rodgers, like the start of the season, he was like, from even the pre-season games behind closed doors at our training ground, but they were televised or put on the club website, so there was media around it. And from day one, basically, since, you know, when we lost 4-1 to Forest in the cup, as the defending FA Cup holders, might add, everything from beyond that point, he was saying, rebuild, we're going to have a rebuild in the summer, we're really going to refresh it. And then when it got to the summer, it was like, oh, the rebuild was about our mentality, and it wasn't about bringing in new players. It was always...
but when he said that, I thought that was just essentially a load of waffle. And
he
was pretty much... He was basically trying to say, I've completely messed it up, and we're going to have a shocking season. Like, you can't just go, oh, it's a mentality. What does that even mean?
It's basically...
You say you're going to have a massive rebuild and then do nothing.
I know.
It's basically you embarrassed us in the FA Cup against Forest, and like he didn't have the bottle to admit that, like, and apologise, because obviously we hadn't played Forest in about 10, maybe not 10 years, 6 years, and like obviously to lose, it's not just to lose, it's how we lost that game. Bear in mind, with the FA Cup holders going to a championship side at the time,
and not only that, one of your biggest rivals as well is what you've got to add to it.
Exactly, and then every time there was negative results, it was just, we'll get to the summer, we'll rebuild. We get to the summer, we rebuild. And it was always just kicking the cans sort of 10 metres down the road. Then when we got to the summer, it's a mentality rebuild. But then a mentality rebuild whilst he's throwing every player under the bus, left, right, and centre.
I did not get that bit why he threw most of your players under that bus. I did get that last season. It was very surprising the way it happened. I'm like, why are you waffling about some player who's done nothing wrong? You can still put him in a squad to make a difference. I did not get that at all. I know what happened with Lee's scenario when it was Big Sam in the last few games. I think he did. I think he started for a lot of people, few of the players under that boss, especially the last 4 games. I'm like, I can see where this is going. This is what happened with Brendan. It's not happening to us. It just felt like, he threw Meslier under the bus. And Mezier's been a little bit better under Farker, and this is the thing. Big Sam threw Mezier under the bus for his error pro mistakes. And this is the same thing. And then Farker comes and says, no, I guess I bought Caldaulo, but he's still my number one keeper. I'm still going to play him. Regardless, he's better with the system. That's all you need. You just need a bit of love, and it's put the play. It's not about you, it's about the squad.
But it felt very much it was about Brendan Rodgers, and it was a Brendan Rodgers sort of self-preservation campaign most of last season. It's like you look at the Danny Ward situation, like after 4 games, you could see he was not Premier League level. And we had Iverson, who'd been on Preston the season before, and was one of the best Championship keepers that year. It took us 28 games before we saw him in the Premier League. And it's
I mean, then again, this is just the sort of extreme levels of favoritism that you do see at Brendan Rodgers, and it's happened at basically every club he's been in. Look at him at Celtic and Liverpool. Like, I don't know which one's worse at favoritism, him or Ryan Dilks from the second tier. Like, just absolutely absurd. And the fact it took that long is just, I mean, it goes to show, like, surely if a player isn't playing well, you would give someone a chance, especially Iverson, as you said at Preston, but it's just knocked on for too long.
It's like, though, you looked at Tielemans walking around the pitch for the majority of the season, and like certain other players that have big names, but it's like, you clearly don't want to be here, but you get him a shirt week after week after week. So, like, turning it back around, because I could rant until about this time next week about Brendan Rodgers and the state that he's left Leicester in, but turning it around now, it's so nice to have a manager that's, if a player's struggling a little bit, put him on the bench, we've got someone else to bring them in, and actually rotating, using the squad fully, bigging up the players, and also sort of not, I don't want to say limiting expectations, but like saying to the fans, but right, we want to achieve, we want to do well, we want to go straight back up, and we want to really have a team that we can be proud of.
And ultimately, the fact that that's changed now, look how it's paying off for you guys. Because I'm pretty sure if you said this at the start of last season, like, you would not have believed us at all.
I wanted Brendan out like before a ball was kicked last year, because you could see exactly what way it was going. But again, I don't want to. I think I've ranted about 15 minutes about Brendan Rodgers, and it's going to bring my mood down. So I'm not going to carry on too long. But let's quickly jump into the live chat, guys. Do leave a like on the stream. Geordie, you must be a very, very happy Geordie tonight. 8-0, thankfully not 9-0. But
do you know what? I like when former Leeds managers, barring Bielsa, I still have respect for, because he's doing a tremendous job at Uruguay. I don't feel sorry for the former Leeds managers who are doing so badly at other clubs. I don't give a damn about it, quite honestly. That's the difference.
Yeah. It's like, though, for former Leicester managers, I look out for how Nigel Pearson's doing, because I've got all the time in the world for Nigel Pearson and Ranieri. But like other managers, it's just like, don't care, really don't care. But it's the ones that sort of, there's certain managers, even if like you're just always going to have that soft spot for, aren't you? But Doug's saying, how are you feeling about the cup game on Wednesday? Not too asked about it, if I'm honest. And it's like, I normally, particularly last year and like the last few years when we've been a Premier League club, I've wanted us to go deep in the cups, because I felt we had a realistic chance of winning most cup competitions. Like, not saying we were going to go all the way, but we had a chance of going all the way, which ultimately we did in the FA Cup. This year, not like, even if we beat you, we're not going to go the whole way in it. And like, the priority's got to be just straight back up. And I almost think that a cup run this year would be a hindrance, which sounds so strange to say, Nathan, but like, I love the cups, but it's like, just not this year.
I mean, at the end of the day, I completely agree with you. And every team that has been in the Championship, especially promotion and playoff battles, like, put this into perspective. If you get to the fourth round of the Carabao Cup, that's 50 games. If that's a 50-game season. If you get to fifth round, add that to 52, 53. Add another, you could say, if you get to the playoff semi-finals, 55, and then 56. A 56-game season is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. And this is why you'll see a lot of teams, especially your Leedses, and we were the biggest culprits of it, especially battling with Warnock and when under Russ Slade. Oh, that was a blast from the past. We would just always go out of the first round of both the FA Cup and also the Carabao Cup, because we wanted that promotion. And at the end of the day, the more matches we'd end up playing, the more we just get burnt out. But yeah, I can completely see where you're coming from, because at the end of the day, you've got to the third round of the Carabao Cup. Why not go out now? Say you've had a good cup run this season and put all your pool straight into battling promotion.
Because we did the same against Salford eventually, because we knew we were focused on, and I think we will do the same in the FA Cup. I think we'll just get knocked out in the third round. It just be easier for us because we're not going to manage the workload, especially if we get beyond to the last stages. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be out. We can't have teams like ourselves, you, me, and say being bet out, and then OT surprise that not being out takes the advantage.
Yeah,
that's it. And I think for us as well, Liverpool away, it's one of those. I think you put a decent performance in, and you don't sort of take a spanking, and so your confidence doesn't take a huge knock, then you sort of winning really. Even if we lose the game, it's one of those. I think as long as you lose in a respectable way, so to speak, then I don't think there's a huge issue there. But I hope to see a pretty much fully changed 11 against Liverpool. Don't risk your likes of Harry Winks. Don't risk your likes of obviously Mavididi, Ndidi, Dewsbury Hall, etc. All your big hitters. Also, like Ricardo Pereira, I don't want to see anywhere near the team. I'll be looking at a lot of your younger players, a lot of the squad players, and even maybe give Conor Cody a few minutes, slowly integrate them back into the team. Because, as I say, I'm going to nick a phrase from the Arsenal fans: bigger fish to fry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what do you have to lose? Liverpool have got everything to lose.
That's it.
That's the perspective you got to take it as. They're going for trophies. You just want promotion.
That's it, 100%. Ethan, how are you doing, mate? I hope you are well. It's been so great coming back on the Championship panel. Obviously, I've had to take the channel down for a couple of weeks, but it's been so good to do this. It's a show that I've enjoyed doing so much on Sunday night. So it is really, really good to be back. Let's talk about the rest of the Championship, though. We've talked about our 3 teams. Where should we start? I think a good place to start would be, let's go Plymouth. Absolutely battering Norwich. It's like I thought they would give them a game. I didn't see 6-2 coming. I don't think any of us did, Nathan.
Absolutely not. I mean, even with the start of the season, I was thinking in some aspects, okay, Ryan Hardy, decent player, especially at League One level. Morgan Whittaker had a great year on loan last year. Obviously used woefully by Swansea, but I was still thinking, where are some of these goals going to come from? But I think the system has completely worked out incredible for them. Loads of chances, possession, you could hover it. I mean, some games they'll dominate it and really break you down. Others, they'll break you on the counter-attack. Absolutely outclassed Steven Schumacher, outclassed Daniel Farke's tactic. Not Daniel Farke, sorry. What's his name? David Wagner's tactics.
Yeah.
Just ripped him to shreds. He couldn't make, even looking at some of the highlights, he was just constantly playing the same system. He did not have a plan B at all. We saw that of when he was at Huddersfield as well. And fair play to Plymouth, just kept on exploiting the real weaknesses in that Norwich side, especially down the right-hand side with Morgan Whittaker playing that through. And yeah, they were just ridiculous in that one. Even with the centre-backs, we know the likes of Ben Gibson, Shane Duffy, not the quickest of there. They really exploited it with the pace up front and the wing-backs. And boy, that was a special performance from Plymouth.
It's one of those, like, as much as you sort of the headlines will talk about Norwich being awful, like Plymouth deserve a huge amount of credit. Like they were ruthless, absolutely ruthless, Carl.
Yeah, they were very ruthless, and I'm not be surprised with their start of the season how they've come. It's not be surprising at all. I'd like to say Steve Schumacher, give credit to him, and especially with Ryan Hardy, he was, like you said, Dave, he was unfairly, really badly used at Swansea. I did not understand that at all, and I have to thought, that Norwich side, they just don't look the same. I know they got Adam D up front, but when you put Gibson and Shane Duffy in that back four, you question that, because I know Ben Gibson still not recovered after his time at Burnley, for crying out loud. The
thing I'll always say about Shane Duffy is every time he's like mentioned on any live stream, just a reminder that I have seen this man score 2 own goals and get sent off in the same game. I will never back that man as a footballer ever in my life.
No.
To be fair, you say that. Walt Faze scored 2 own goals in one game. He didn't get sent off, but I still think there's a player there in Walt Faze. But it was the confidence that absolutely. Do you remember after that game at Anfield? There was
he was hounded, wasn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely hounded for it.
Absolutely hounded. And it's like, I've always said I think he's a decent centre back, and there's like when he came in, he was absolutely brilliant for us. But as soon as you talk to anyone about Wout Faes, he's like, oh, he's a calamity at the back, and he's this and that. And it's like it's more to him than that. And I do think that I just think that he's one of those that's sort of unlucky with circumstance. But I'm just going to quickly jump back into the live chat. Brendan Rodgers should have gone in winter 2021. Defeats to Villa, Napoli, going 2-0 up against Liverpool, then bottling 3-3 on the loss to Pens. And then didn't we follow that up? Wasn't it the Forest game? Wasn't much further after that, but around that period he should have gone, and he was just held on to for far too long. But let's keep looking through the results of the weekend. Ipswich 4, Blackburn 3. Ipswich are flying high. I thought they'll do well this season. I didn't think they would do this well, Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of kept a lid on it. I knew that we've seen it in the last couple of seasons as well. There is always that one League One side that does seem to finish top half. We had it with Sunderland in particular, and I wish Michael was here tonight because we knew how special they were in that second half of the season. Boy, they were fantastic. But this Ipswich side, going forward, and we saw it last season with the ridiculous amount of goals, boy, they are ruthless going forward. The 4-2-3-1 is just working incredibly. Hurst took his goal well. Nathan Broadhead, who was fantastic in League One last season, coming into that Wales squad, rightfully so as well, supplying the goals yet again for Ipswich. And the way that I've noticed them play, and our game is the outlier because we did take that early chance. They like to bury games early. So you're looking, they were already 2-1 up within the first 20 minutes. And then 25 minutes, George Hurst gets his goal. And just that front four of Connor Chaplin in particular controlling it as that number 10, known for scoring goals, scored a stupid amount last season, and linking that front line up. The momentum is just brought forward for them, quite frankly. And even the back line reinforced strong. It could be a little bit better in some games. I did think they slipped up a little bit. That Harry Clark own goal was very unlucky, you could say as well. But ultimately, yeah, Ipswich, they're just going to keep powering through from here at the moment. I don't think they're going to go up automatics. I would say that is a little bit over the top, unless something magical happens in January. But I will say they're certain for lower half of the playoffs at the moment by a mile.
Yeah, they'll be pushing playoffs 100%, mate. 100%. It's one of those that there's a lot about Ipswich that's admirable, and it's in fact as well that they've got a young manager in. There seems like so much unity sort of behind McKenna and what he's doing, and it's like.
I will say though, the only thing that does worry me with them is what if they have a major injury going forwards.
Yeah,
I do think there is sort of a lack of depth there, and they have been lucky so far because if you look at the starting lineups they're putting out each game, it is very, very much the same. Yes, all four of the front four were subbed off against Blackburn, but it is that depth issue that does worry me with them.
It's to be expected though from a team coming up from League One, but they're not going to have even if the starting 11's fine, they won't have a huge amount of quality behind that. But that's ultimately why I think they won't keep pace with sort of the top. I know they're second at the moment, but I think that's why they won't keep pace with maybe Leicester, and I don't know who else you might want to put in that group that are going to sort of run away with it. But looking at the table at the moment, there's a little bit of a gap starting to form from obviously Leicester, Ipswich, Preston, and then there's a 5-point gap to Hull behind him fourth. So there's a little bit sort of a runaway pack, so to speak. But do you think Preston and Ipswich keep up with that pace?
We can already see the signs of Preston starting to drop off, and I think that is just complacency. Like they were all over Rotherham, but just could not put them away. And I think that sort of the effect in the final third, which we have seen from Preston in the last couple of years, is showing through. I don't think they'll keep up pace, but they'll be up there and around there. And I think Ipswich, they just need to be careful with injuries, to be honest, but they're going to be up there for a while for me.
Yeah. I back that one as well completely with that one. I think the injury, if one major injury happens for Ipswich, that will impact on their season. I like saying, Preston's final third it's like what Nathan said. It's starting to go through where it's been, and the teams that are around us. It depends what Sunderland, like ourselves and Sunderland, can do to try to get the pace up when. Because that's going to be interesting. Like I said, we thought Southampton was going to be the pace setters, but they've been on a dwindle with that one. And I think it was between ourselves and Sunderland. I think Hull, like I said, they gave us a good game on Tuesday. They should have won that game. I don't know how Trier missed that open goal, hit the post. I think it'd be just really be interesting if like I said, one or two results goes in either both Sunderland, Leeds, and a few of teams' favour to catch up with Leicester and even Ipswich as well.
I think the thing with Preston as well, they've got a difficult run of games coming up. They've got West Brom, then they've got Leicester at King Power, followed by Ipswich, then Southampton, then Hull. So it's a difficult next few for them. So it's like
the thing with Preston as well is they've had a very, very strong start to the season. They've already played Sheffield Wednesday. They've already played Swansea. They've already played Stoke. All these games that you would be expecting, especially the mid-table teams, to be winning. And they haven't, aside from, who could you say, aside from even Plymouth, Bristol City, and, well, they did lose to Ipswich. I don't think this side's been tested yet. Like, even a draw against Rotherham really does show a red flag, and it's always been by 2 goals. They haven't been overwhelming teams at all, and they have been close games. So there is that red flag sitting there for me, and I think with this difficult run of games for them, I do think they're going to start to slip down.
I disagree. I do think they have been tested to an extent, and you don't get sort of, how many games in are we now? What? 8 games in.
8 games in,
like,
yeah.
Still early days, but you don't get to sort of 21 points, 8 games in without being tested. But at the same time, I think their biggest tests are yet to come.
I
think that like you go over these next few games where they play. Hold on, give us a second. I just had it up and it's disappeared. But stupid thing. But where they play, is it obviously? West Brom, ourselves, Ipswich, Southampton, Hull as the next ones. I think that's when you really sort of see sort of whereabouts they'll be towards the end of the season. I think it gives you a bit of a better measuring stick.
Yeah.
Nathan, where do you think Cardiff will finish?
Tough at the moment. Based on what I've seen, I'm probably going to go about 14th, but that's just because that's what I've been saying to a lot of Cardiff fans, and I think the general consensus is with us is, okay, we're doing well at the moment, but keep a lid on it because we've seen what it's been like for the last 5 years. So if we do finish in that mid-table spot, for me, I'll be happy. Just because I just want stability at the club. So, but if we do finish higher, if we do knock on the door for playoffs, I'll be incredible.
Yeah, Ipswich, Leicester, and Preston to run away with the points early on. I'm not convinced Preston keep pace with us. I'm really not. I think that, as we said before, I think they'll have a decent season. I don't think they keep pace with us because I'm going to put my neck out there. I think we hit a sort of mid-90s points tally this year. I really do, and I know like people will say that's arrogant and brave, but I just see us getting better and better throughout the season. Like you can see the improvements from like before the international breaks to after it, and it's like the more time these players get with Enzo, the more time that the more they're going to improve. So I think there will be a team that keeps pace with us. I'm just not convinced it'll be either Ipswich or Preston.
I think, to be honest, the team that does find its form will sort of spring out of nowhere, and then when they get a good, say for example, we could even see a club that goes on a 12, 13 game winning run, or even with a few draws sprinkled around there. Whoever that's going to be, whether it's going to be a Leeds that push through, if Birmingham get on a good run of form, I don't know why I'm thinking of that one. Hull is starting to break through, and they've got some very good depth as well with the money they've spent. Yeah. It could be an unknown entity, but yeah, it's just who that team is going to be. And I think it is going to chop and change throughout the season. But I mean, with what we have seen so far, Your Leicesters are going to be up there. Ipswich is going to be up there, but not fully around the automatics. Holland, Sunderland, we've already seen have been fantastic. Leeds is one you've got to look at with Daniel Farker. And aside from that, out of anyone between, you could say, Cardiff's position in 7th and all the way down to 17th, 18th, it could be anyone.
Yeah, that's why I love the Championship so much. It's like, I love it even more when we're not in it, I'll be honest. But it is like just so unpredictable, and it's a league that anyone can beat anyone. I know they put I know they always say the Premier League's that it's not like, sort of you can put a pretty good guess on who's going to finish relatively there or thereabouts in the Premier League. Championship, you just can't call it.
Impossible.
But let's move on to the final few games. Obviously, going to skim over the 0-0 Birmingham QPR and West Brom Millwall ball draws. Not too sort of interested in either of them, if I'm honest. It's the one that I wanted to talk about. Stoke 1, Hull City 3. They're really starting to pick up some decent results. Hull, obviously, they beat ourselves at the King Power, drew with Cov, drew with Leeds, and now beat Stoke. They're going a bit under the radar, but they're causing issues.
They are.
I think they are as well.
Under the radar completely. It's just. It's not surprised with Liam Rosina did get the job at Derby. I think going to Hull, he studied this shit last season because they had really not had a mixed bag of season last season. I think going by the players that they've got the quality, and they have been going under the radar. And I think it just showed that how they were very, very attacking the final third, and it just shows that they're not really messing about this season. I think they're going to be one of a few of the dark horses will be not for promotion. I think for the playoffs now. I think now we just see something that I see like what way with Blackburn is compared to the season before Blackburn when they had Ben Diaz. I think Hull really got the edge over on Blackburn and probably Sunderland. So I think there's a chance now that 1 or 2 playoff spots is going to be vital for one of those teams. And I think if Hull can keep that form going for much of the season, I just see them really be one of the teams you don't want to play in that semi-final or even the final at all.
They've got some good individual quality as well. When you look through their squad, it's not as if it's just a well-drilled team, which they are, but they've got a fair bit of talent about them as well. Like Liam Delap at this level, absolute handful. And I think he gets labelled just as a bit of a big lump, but he's technically a decent player as well. Obviously, Scott Twine as well. He's a player that never quite did it for Burnley, but always looked a bit. And
I even thought that he was going to be instrumental if Burnley did re-sign him during the Premier League, but obviously that didn't happen. And the second I saw him go to Hull, I was thinking when I was doing my predictions, okay, I actually think that I have really underestimated Hull because I had him in 7th at the start of the season. I'm in an R on whether to put them in the playoffs because of the amount of money that was spent and that momentum they gathered from finally getting these new owners in after so long under the Allams. And I'm just thinking, okay, you've got him, Scott Twine that's come in, even though he did come off the bench. You've got Jayden Philogene that's come in for £5 million, which for me is an absolute bargain. You've got Aaron Connolly, who we know has scored goals and has scored goals in the Premier League as well.
We thought he was going to be the next big thing. We thought he was going to be the next big thing at Brighton, and it's now Evan Ferguson instead. So yeah, he did see. I thought he was going to have a bit of a chance, but I think going to Hull was the best move for him for his career to really, become that striker that we thought he was going to be.
I really agree, and if he gathers some momentum together like he has done, getting that goal at the weekend, then I think if Hull continue and go on this good run, then 100% up there for me. Something special.
You look at the quality, like as you say about we've mentioned Connolly and Delap, but you look what's the Turkish lad they've got in midfield as well?
Ozan Tufan.
Player, absolute player. Then like Jean-Michel Siri, like 3-4 years ago, he was being linked with Barcelona. It's like a bit of a downgrade. I know he's doing well at the Championship, but not quite the new camp, is it? But it's like Also, players like Greaves as well, the centre back they've got individual quality, but they're also playing well as a team, and we've seen it so many times. And there's like you can list off 101 examples of teams that have got all the quality in the world, but they're not working together as a unit. They've got quality and are working hard and working well as a unit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, agreed.
Let's have a look. I think we've covered every game so far. Oh, there's one talking point, but we have to go through. Neil Warnock, no longer Huddersfield manager. He's retired. I'll give it 3 months till he's back.
It's not a surprise, and knowing for me from Huddersfield, I knew there was rumblings going on for quite a while. It did feel like Warnock got stabbed in the back by Kevin Nangle, the new owners, the new American owners. He luckily got stabbed in the back with a transfer. From what I was hearing, that the budget they had for the transfer was used on renewing contract of Danny Ward and one or two other players, and they used all that, and they didn't have much money to bring in the players that they wanted to get. And that's for Neil Warnock was disappointing. I think it was the tweet as well after that defeat to Norwich. That's where things escalated. We could see there was a lot of frustrations, really was, and it's not a surprise how the club is going. And listen, I bringing Darren Moore in is interesting. I have to say it's underwhelming, but he's a hunch I will see could happen. I know Neil Warnock had a bit in at Sheffield United, but what can you see him if he went to Sheffield Wednesday?
I cannot see that happening at all.
I can't.
I know, but think about it. Where Sheffield at the moment, they're at the bottom three, and then they're gonna need someone to stay up. And he's probably the only name who's gonna be like, yeah, I might have to go in. Because I don't think he has loyalty to Sheffield United at all anymore.
I disagree on that a little bit, because I remember when he was with the Blades, and he's been very consistent for it in like press conferences. I remember there was one with Cardiff as well, where he'll just joke the life out of Sheffield Wednesday and say, "Oh, I'm a Blade," and glad to see they've lost at the weekend. But I don't think it'll work if he goes there, because we all know about how bad of an owner Chansiri is. But look at his last few clubs where he has gone somewhere and there's problematic owners. We've seen it at Cardiff. We've seen it at Huddersfield as well. You've seen it at Leeds when he was at Leeds. I'm sure you'll know about that, Carl. Each time that Warnock will go to he will not touch a club with a bad owner if he doesn't buy into it. And if there's any doubts about it, Cardiff, Huddersfield, Leeds, he'll be either sacked or out the door. So for that exact reason, I cannot see him going and working with Chansiri.
I get what you're saying. I agree with that. I don't know. It's interesting what you say, but I think you have to put his mind at a point past that. But you're probably right. It's only one of those funds if he came out tight. If Sheffield Wednesday was begging him to come back, that's the question. But Sheffield to beg him to come, that's the question. Like you said, I can't see happen with that ownership where he's been going. Every close he's gone to, it's been bad ownership, and I think he needs someone with good ownership. I don't know where that's going to be, but he will have to think very carefully with this one on the next job for short term.
I love the fact that he's officially retired, and we're all giving it just like, what's his next job going to be? Because we know
one thing, right?
Retired.
I think if Heckingbottom gets sacked, with the way that they've started the season and are starting to show their signs of quality and being solid, I could even maybe see him returning to Sheffield United.
I think that job's got Chris Wilder written all over it.
No, yeah, I know.
I'm hesitant on that.
Yeah, because Chris Wilder was linked to joining Hearts in the last season, and that didn't happen. And the contract money was not the issue. I was trying to figure out why he didn't join Hearts, but it's at the moment because Sheffield United have gone through a situation with their ownership as well. So
yeah, because another thing with Sheffield United was that when Wilder did end up getting sacked, it didn't go on good terms either. Which I think there has to be massive changes off the pitch for even them to consider Wilder coming back there.
I
It
forgot
does,
about
yeah.
how bitter it was when it ended, because it was a lot of sort of stuff that you were seeing in public that will normally stay behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It's like, yeah, saying that, I think you're probably right with that one. And he hasn't exactly, like, since he left Sheffield United, it hasn't exactly gone to plan for him.
No, yeah, and this is the thing. I think there's a situation at the moment what's going on with Hearts at the moment, because they lost badly to St. Mirren yesterday. Lost embarrassing, and there's been questions on Steve Naismith, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wilder's name comes up again. And I think this time he will take the job. I would not be surprised this time, because he was close to getting it, but because of the management situation that we were in the Europa League was such a mess. I just think I think Wilder will probably come to Scotland. Will probably come up to Scotland if Nathan gets the sack. I think that would be a better fit with the foundation of Hearts, which is if I know him by, I think that will be the difference for him, because he will get backed by the board anyway. So we'll wait and see if that can happen again. But yeah, I can't see him go back to Sheffield United. Not with how that ended so badly.
We'll finish on this one. Predictions for Cov Huddersfield. Right. I think Huddersfield will win this one, not just because it's Cov, but how many times have we seen sort of like something happen where a manager gets sacked or a manager walks away, and then there's almost this bounce within the squad? And I know that Warnock was very much liked by the Huddersfield players and Huddersfield fans.
He was.
It almost, when you just see that response from the players where it's like a sort of show that it was him, not us kind of thing. And I think you might see a bit of a sort of bounce tomorrow from Huddersfield. And also, I just don't think Coventry are that good, if I'm completely honest. But no.
Yeah.
Difficult. Really difficult for me, because I did see the glimpses of where Coventry could be a good side when we played them, but I think going forward and the complacency of it, and the way that Mark Robbins was sort of just throwing out any old substitutions to see if something could work, and in the end was tactically outclassed by Errol Bullet, it's just going to keep happening this season. And I think losing Gus Hamer and Yorker it's just capitulated everything, where quality's disappeared. They don't know where they can find goals or victories. Robbins is still searching for it, and he doesn't know what to try, and you could see that with his tactics. So in that case, I think Darren Moore is going to have a positive effect at the start of this tenure. I think it will drop off very quickly, but I'm going to edge it 1-1.
Fair enough. Carl?
I did expect Coventry's fall, especially the losing of Victor Yorkers, and I did not expect the fall. I thought bringing in a shot would have been that perfect replacement, but that hasn't worked to fruition. You can see why it didn't work for it. He did work for us at Hearts as well last season, because that was another issue. He really struggled goals. And Matt Roberts is not. He's really struggled of the tactics he's been on, of the chances he's trying to make. To try win games. It's not helpful. I think Darren Moore will have a bit of a bounce. I know it will drop off at some point, but I think he'll have a bit of a bounce. I think Huddersfield will win this 2-1. I just can't see Coventry winning again and winning tomorrow night. I think the way they're being, it's not the team that you thought they were supposed to be after how they did it last season. So
yeah, I'm really enjoying you guys talking about Cobb, because it just doesn't make me sound like just a bitter Leicester fan. They just aren't what they were, and it's brilliant, isn't it? But let's round it up here, guys. So let us know where they can find you, Carl. I think your links should be in the description down below anyway, but let the people know where they can find you and what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can find me at the Totally Lee Hall Football channel here on YouTube. You can find us at the LH Football Pod on Twitter. And also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and also on Threads. And if you do listen to the podcast on the go, please listen via Apple and Google and other platforms, podcast services. I should be hopefully doing some roundup of the rest of the leagues. Hopefully Monday, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on my bit of my schedule, just to catch up. But I am back on the Saturday show next Saturday. I know Doug is going to be busy because as I said, because I know he's going to be getting ready with him and his wife. Either the baby does come, but even though me and my partner said it might be 2 weeks, so I will have to find cover for him for coming on the show just until things settle down. But yeah, I'll be back on next Saturday at 10:30.
Thank you. And yeah, quickly a note on that. I hope everything goes well for you, well, Doug, and exciting times for you, mate. Nathan, let everyone know where they can find you, mate.
Yeah, thanks once again, and there's my Twitter there. Not quite tan out, but there it is. NWM, if you want to actually see me film some games that we've actually won, which has not happened in a ridiculous amount of time. I think I've only done like 4 or 5 videos where we've won a match this season. So if you want to see some actual excitement, check it out in the description below, guys. But yeah.
Also, if you want to see a 94th minute loss at the King Power from the away end, also make sure to check out Nathan's channel. On that, guys, thank you so much for everyone who has been watching. Get those likes up. Let's get ourselves up to 40 likes. Comment down below on anything we've discussed today. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. But I'll see you guys in the next one.